All right, so now we're going to install WordPress using automation. So this is a alternative to installing WordPress manually. So installing WordPress manually gives us flexibility and control over the installation. I mean, from everything from naming the website and naming the database prefixes, creating database usernames and passwords, to having a WordPress, let's say, configuration type that matches and suits our style. So if you're an advanced user and you'd like to do a manual installation to have that flexibility and that control, then install WordPress manually. But for most people, using something like a one-click install, which we have here at Primus Web, a one-click install with our cPanel, okay, it's going to install WordPress automatically. So there's no need to create a database, create database usernames, make permissions for the database, etc. Okay, so the installation is, quite frankly, it's instant, and you can bypass the WordPress actual install configurator, right? So this is what that advantage is. It's convenience and it's fast. So if you already have a web hosting company, usually they're going to be using cPanel. Okay, like we said, cPanel saturation is huge in the market. So most of the popular web hosting platforms are using cPanel. So your cPanel should look like this. cPanel also just recently changed its theme. So sometimes your cPanel may even look like this. Okay, but we're gonna go back, and use this demo cPanel account. And we're gonna switch to what I think is the best theme for cPanel, and that's the paper lantern. So when we're coming to cPanel, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type Softaculous. Now, most cPanels will have Softaculous app installer. Okay. So as you see, I typed it in cPanel and it brought me to the Softaculous page. Now, typically on the Softaculous page, you're going to see all of the open source, the popular open source tools that you can do what's called a quick install or one-click install. So we want to select WordPress. If you don't find WordPress here, all you have to do is go to Portals in CMS on the left-hand side, and you should see WordPress at the bottom here, somewhere at the bottom. Or better yet, you can just search it here because there's a lot of different open source applications. So as you can see, we are brought to the WordPress page here. Okay, if you don't find WordPress there. So we're just going to hit install. And I'm going to choose a subdomain. You can choose a domain of your choosing. If you pointed and added your domain to your cPanel, okay, or to your web hosting panel, it should be included in this dropdown. Okay, we want to make sure we're using a secure protocol, so HTTPS, not HTTP. Okay, so HTTPS. We want to remove the prefix. If there's any prefix there, we want to remove it. This is just basically going to install WordPress to a folder. We don't want that. Remember when we did it manually, we removed the files and put them in a different folder, put them in the root folder of the subdomain. So we don't want anything here. Okay, that's going to put it into a directory in the public HTML. So the user would have to enter in the domain plus that directory. That doesn't look too professional. Okay, so we're not going to do that. Now I'm going to use the username as admin, and then the password, use a system generated password. Okay. And you're going to type in your email and the admin email. Let's shift to the left under site settings. Name your site, your business. So for this demo store we're going to do for WooCommerce, I'm going to name my business Hawk Tennis Pro, right? And then I'm going to, usually the site description for a business, typically it's going to be on the browser, on the top of the browser, like you see this right here. So the name of the business is going to go here, and then what you're going to put here for the site description is going to come after that line. So right there, right? So you can usually, if it's a business, you can just put the tagline of the business there. So I'm gonna put tennis shoes and more. Now, I'm gonna still obviously work on that tagline. I'm obviously gonna work on that tagline, but that's just to get this up and running. You don't want to select any of these. This is if you want a multiple WordPress installation, and you just want to definitely make sure that you're not selecting this disable WordPress, the WordPress cron. Okay, we won't go into what that is, but you don't need to touch anything there. Now, you don't want your website with any plugins installed already, okay, because that could cause some issues with themes. So you don't want to select this, and you don't want to select this. Now let's click on advanced options. There's nothing you need to do here, but I just want to tell you what's here. If you want to change the data, remember this is a one-click install, so they can create databases, okay, for you. They can take them down, etc. Right? So you have some database configuration settings here. So you don't need to touch anything here. Okay, you don't need to touch anything here. But if you wanted to change the prefix in the database, okay, that's kind of an advanced thing. And if you're here and you're using a one-click install, there's no reason to manipulate the table prefix, but some people like to do that. So there's nothing you need to do there. But if you'd like to, you can change those values. Now, there's nothing we need to do here. WordPress already comes pre-packaged with themes. Okay, so there's nothing we need to do here to manage this theme sets. If we want additional themes, we can also install them here, but again, that's not recommended. I'm actually going to show you a recommended theme. You're going to be able to download it for free. And I'm going to be able to show you one that you can use actually. That is the best theme for WooCommerce. So the email installation here, the details, the system is going to notify you when WordPress is installed using the one-click installer. So with all of that being said, we're going to scroll up to the page. We can actually just click install here, or you can scroll up to the page and click quick install. So we're just going to click install like so. And this should take a few minutes, sometimes depending on the size or whatever you configure here. It can take a few minutes, but as you can see, this is a basic WordPress website. That's all we need up and running. I was going to ask you if you want to tweet this to your friends. There's no need to. So now that we have WordPress installed, this right here is going to signify this administrative URL, our WordPress login. So we're going to click on that. And now we are logged into WordPress. So the one thing that I like to do once we install WordPress with the one-click install is to check to make sure that we can log in. So to do that, we're just going to go to the top right where it says Howdy Admin and log out. Then we're going to log back in. Okay, so we're going to log back in using the credentials that we used in the installation. So whatever those credentials are that you configured, just put the password in there. Okay, that's just to double check to make sure that you can log back in. So this is how we install WordPress automatically using a one-click install in your cPanel. Like I said, most cPanels should have Softaculous. If they don't, most cPanels across all web hosting companies should have a WordPress one-click install.